My dear brothers and sisters, one of the most powerful moments in life is when you realize that your happiness does not depend on anyone. When you no longer feel empty in silence, when you no longer feel weak being alone, when your heart feels peaceful even without constant attention, that is when true strength begins. Many people are surrounded by others, yet they feel lonely inside. And some people sit alone, yet their hearts feel completely at peace. Why? Because real happiness is not created by people. Real happiness is created when the heart learns to rely on Allah. When you stop chasing constant validation, when you stop expecting people to fill every emotional space, when you learn to enjoy your own company, you discover a calmness that cannot be taken away. Today, we will explore 5 powerful lessons that will help you understand why being alone does not reduce your happiness. It strengthens it. Because sometimes the strongest hearts are built in silence. And sometimes the greatest peace is found when Allah is enough for you. 1. Happiness does not come from people. My dear brothers and sisters, one of the biggest illusions in life is believing that people are the source of our happiness. From a very young age, we begin to associate our value with how others treat us. When someone appreciates us, we feel uplifted. When someone praises us, we feel confident. When someone gives us attention, we feel important. Slowly, without realizing it, the heart becomes dependent on people for emotional satisfaction. We begin to feel that our peace is connected to how others respond to us. If they speak kindly, we feel happy. If they ignore us, we feel disturbed. If they support us, we feel strong. If they disappoint us, we feel broken. But this way of thinking is very dangerous because it places our emotional stability in the hands of people. And people are never constant. Human beings are created with limitations. People change according to their circumstances, responsibilities, moods, and priorities. Someone who gives you attention today may become busy tomorrow. Someone who understands you today may misunderstand you later. Someone who stays close today may become distant in the future. This is not always because people are bad, but because life itself keeps changing. Situations change, responsibilities increase, and hearts are tested in different ways. When our happiness depends completely on people, every small change in their behavior begins to disturb our peace. We start overthinking simple situations. We start questioning our worth. We start feeling insecure, not because we lost our value, but because we connected our value to people instead of connecting it to Allah. Only Allah is constant. Allah is Al-Baqi, the one who never changes, the one who always remains. People may forget you, but Allah never forgets you. People may ignore your pain, but Allah knows every tear that falls silently. People may fail to understand your struggles, but Allah understands even the feelings that you cannot express. When a person begins to build their happiness on their relationship with Allah, their emotional world becomes stable. They no longer feel completely broken when people disappoint them because their heart is not dependent on temporary sources of comfort. Their heart is attached to the one who never abandons his servants. Sometimes Allah allows distance between you and people so you can realize an important truth. Your happiness was never meant to be controlled by people. Your happiness was always meant to be connected to your Creator. When you place your trust in Allah, you begin to feel a different type of peace. This peace is not loud, but it is strong. This peace does not depend on constant messages, constant attention, or constant approval. This peace comes from knowing that even when people do not understand you, Allah understands you completely. Hasbiya Allahu wa ni'mal wakil. Allah is sufficient for me and He is the best disposer of affairs. This beautiful reminder teaches us that when Allah is enough for your heart, you no longer feel empty when people fail to give you importance. You no longer feel restless when people become distant. Instead, you begin to experience emotional independence. You begin to feel calm even in silence. You begin to enjoy your own company because your heart is connected to the one who is always near. Being alone teaches you that happiness is not something people give you. Happiness is something Allah places inside your heart when your trust is sincere. When the heart connects with Allah, it no longer feels incomplete. It no longer feels desperate for constant validation. It no longer feels weak in moments of solitude. Instead, it feels peaceful, stable, and secure. This is the beauty of relying on Allah. When Allah becomes the center of your happiness, no person has the power to take your peace away. 2. Being alone strengthens your relationship with Allah. My dear brothers and sisters, sometimes in life, Allah creates distance between you and certain people, and at first, the heart feels uncomfortable. You may wonder why communication has reduced, why certain relationships feel different, or why you suddenly find yourself spending more time alone than before. In those moments, many people immediately assume something is wrong. They think loneliness is a sign of loss, a sign of being forgotten, or a sign of being less important. But in reality, sometimes distance is not a punishment, it is protection. Sometimes silence is not emptiness, it is an opportunity. Sometimes being alone is not rejection, it is redirection towards Allah. When the noise of people reduces, the voice of the heart becomes clearer. When constant conversations reduce, reflection increases. When distractions decrease, awareness increases. Many people do not realize how much noise fills their minds every single day. Opinions, expectations, comparisons, pressures, and endless conversations slowly occupy the heart, leaving very little space for deep thinking and spiritual growth. When a person finally experiences moments of solitude, the heart slowly begins to settle. Thoughts become clearer, emotions become easier to understand, the mind becomes less confused, and in that calm state, the heart begins to remember Allah more sincerely. Allah reminds us in the Quran, وَهُوَ مَعَكُمْ أَيْنَمَا كُنْتُمْ. He is with you wherever you are. Even when you are physically alone, you are never truly alone. Allah is always near. Allah is always aware. Allah is always listening. When a person truly understands this reality, loneliness begins to transform into comfort. Instead of feeling abandoned, the heart begins to feel accompanied. Instead of feeling empty, the heart begins to feel supported. Instead of feeling weak, the heart begins to feel secure. Many of the greatest moments of spiritual growth happen in quiet places, away from crowds and away from distractions. When a person spends time alone, they begin to notice things they previously ignored. They begin to notice how often they depend on people for reassurance. They begin to notice how often they seek approval from others. They begin to notice how easily their mood changes based on people's behavior. These realizations are not meant to make a person feel guilty. They are meant to help a person grow. Because once you become aware of these patterns, you begin to slowly shift your dependence from people to Allah. The Prophet ﷺ would spend time in reflection and quiet contemplation. Before prophethood, he would go to the cave of Hira, distancing himself from the noise of society. Why? Because solitude allows the heart to reconnect with truth. Solitude allows the mind to detach from unnecessary pressures. Solitude allows the soul to breathe. In quiet moments, a person begins to understand what truly matters and what does not. Many of the worries that once felt heavy begin to feel small. Many of the fears that once felt overwhelming begin to feel manageable. This is the effect of reconnecting with Allah. Inna Allaha qareebun. Indeed, Allah is near. When a person strengthens their relationship with Allah, they begin to experience a calmness that people cannot provide. People may offer temporary comfort, but Allah provides lasting peace. People may listen sometimes, but Allah always listens. People may understand some things, but Allah understands everything. When your connection with Allah becomes strong, your emotional stability becomes strong. You no longer panic when people become distant. You no longer feel completely lost when situations change. Instead, your heart quietly reminds you that Allah is always present. Sometimes Allah removes certain distractions from your life so that your attention can return to Him. Sometimes Allah allows you to experience solitude so that you can rediscover your strength. Sometimes Allah creates distance from people so that you can build closeness with Him. What feels uncomfortable at first often becomes a source of growth later. A person who learns to turn to Allah in moments of solitude develops a powerful inner connection. That connection becomes a source of guidance, patience, and emotional strength. When you speak to Allah in your dua, you begin to feel heard. When you remember Allah in silence, you begin to feel calm. When you place your trust in Allah, you begin to feel supported. Tawakkaltu ala Allah. I place my trust in Allah. This trust removes a heavy burden from the heart because it reminds you that you are not managing life alone. Allah is managing everything with wisdom. Being alone gives you the opportunity to build a relationship with Allah that is sincere and personal. Without distractions, your dua becomes deeper. Without pressure, your reflection becomes clearer. Without noise, your heart becomes softer. Over time, you begin to feel comfort in moments that once felt uncomfortable. You begin to appreciate silence instead of fearing it. You begin to enjoy peaceful moments instead of escaping them. When the heart becomes connected to Allah, it does not feel empty in solitude. It feels complete. It feels guided. It feels protected. This is why being alone is not always a negative experience. Sometimes it is a special invitation to strengthen your relationship with the one who knows you better than anyone else. And when that relationship becomes strong, a person carries peace within them wherever they go. 3. Enjoying solitude builds emotional strength. My dear brothers and sisters, one of the signs of emotional maturity is the ability to feel comfortable in your own company. Many people feel strong only when they are surrounded by others. They feel confident when they receive attention. They feel important when they are constantly included in conversations. But when they find themselves alone, even for a short time, they begin to feel restless. They feel uneasy. They feel uncomfortable with silence. This discomfort does not come from being alone itself, but from being unfamiliar with their own thoughts. We live in a time where distractions are everywhere. The moment silence appears, many people immediately reach for their phones. They scroll endlessly, searching for something to fill the quiet space. They feel the need to constantly hear something, see something, or talk to someone. Why? Because silence reveals what is happening inside the heart. Silence exposes worries that we try to avoid. Silence brings forward emotions that we try to ignore. Silence makes us face ourselves. But wise people understand something powerful. Silence is not the enemy. Silence is a teacher. Solitude is not emptiness. Solitude is an opportunity. When a person learns to sit alone without feeling disturbed, they begin to develop emotional strength that most people never achieve. They begin to understand their thoughts clearly. They begin to recognize their emotional patterns. They begin to identify what truly matters and what does not. Emotional strength is not built by always escaping discomfort. Emotional strength is built by learning how to remain calm even when there is no distraction. A person who enjoys solitude does not become weak. A person who enjoys solitude becomes stable because they no longer depend on constant external stimulation to feel okay. They do not require constant reassurance to feel secure. They do not require constant praise to feel valuable. Instead, they develop a quiet confidence within themselves. The Prophet ﷺ would spend time in reflection because solitude strengthens awareness. When a person reflects, they begin to see life more clearly. They begin to understand that not every opinion deserves attention. Not every criticism deserves a reaction. Not every situation deserves emotional exhaustion. Solitude allows a person to step back from unnecessary noise and focus on what truly benefits the heart. When you enjoy your own company, you begin to reduce emotional dependence on people. This does not mean you stop caring about others. It means you stop expecting people to constantly fill your emotional needs. You begin to realize that your peace is your responsibility. Your happiness is your responsibility. Your emotional stability is something that you build within yourself through patience, reflection, and trust in Allah. Many people feel weak because they constantly look for validation. They want reassurance for every decision. They want approval for every step. They want recognition for every effort. But the more a person depends on validation, the more their emotional state becomes unstable. Because validation is not always available. People do not always notice your efforts. People do not always appreciate your sacrifices. People do not always understand your intentions. If your confidence depends on being constantly recognized, your confidence will frequently feel shaken. But when you learn to enjoy solitude, something powerful begins to happen. You start appreciating your own growth even when no one notices. You start valuing your efforts even when no one praises. You start respecting your journey even when no one understands. This creates emotional independence. And emotional independence creates strength. A person who is emotionally strong does not become cold-hearted. They become balanced. They care for others, but they do not lose themselves for others. They love people, but they do not depend completely on people. They give kindness, but they do not beg for attention. Their heart remains soft, but their mind remains stable. Raditu billahi rabba. I am pleased with Allah as my Lord. This statement reflects deep emotional strength, because when a person is pleased with Allah, they begin to accept life with patience. They begin to trust that every situation contains wisdom. They begin to understand that not every difficulty is a punishment. Some difficulties are preparation. Some quiet moments are opportunities for growth. Solitude also protects you from unnecessary emotional harm. When a person constantly surrounds themselves with noise, they often absorb negative energy without realizing it. Complaints, gossip, comparison, criticism, and negativity slowly affect the heart. But when a person spends time alone, they create space for emotional recovery. They allow their mind to rest. They allow their heart to reset. In solitude, you begin to reconnect with your natural state of calmness. You begin to appreciate simple things. You begin to notice your blessings more clearly. Gratitude becomes easier when the mind is not overwhelmed by constant comparison. Many people feel unhappy not because they lack blessings, but because they constantly compare their lives with others. Social comparison weakens emotional stability. Solitude reduces comparison, and when comparison reduces, contentment increases. Emotional strength also means having control over your reactions. When you are comfortable being alone, you do not feel the need to respond to everything immediately. You do not feel the need to prove yourself constantly. You do not feel the need to explain yourself to everyone. You become more selective with your energy. You become more protective of your peace. A person who fears solitude often tolerates unhealthy situations just to avoid being alone. They remain in environments that disturb their peace. They accept behavior that hurts their dignity. They remain attached to people who do not value them. Why? Because they are afraid of loneliness. But when a person learns to enjoy solitude, they gain the courage to choose peace over unhealthy attachment. They gain the strength to walk away from situations that damage their emotional well-being. True emotional strength comes from knowing that your peace does not depend on constant company. Your peace comes from inner stability. Your peace comes from trust in Allah. Your peace comes from understanding that being alone is not the same as being abandoned. Allah is always near. When the heart remembers this, solitude becomes comfortable instead of painful. Silence becomes peaceful instead of heavy. Being alone becomes a source of strength instead of a source of fear. When you learn to enjoy your own company, you develop a calm confidence that others can feel. You speak less, but your words carry weight. You react less, but your presence carries dignity. You seek less attention, but you receive more respect. This is the quiet strength that solitude builds. Solitude teaches you that you are stronger than you thought. It teaches you that your happiness is not fragile. It teaches you that your peace is not dependent on people's constant presence. And when a person reaches this level of emotional stability, they move through life with calmness, patience, and clarity. This is the beauty of enjoying solitude. It does not isolate you from the world. It strengthens you within the world. 4. Expecting less from people brings more peace. My dear brothers and sisters, one of the greatest causes of emotional pain in life is excessive expectation from people. Many hearts feel heavy not because they lack blessings, but because they expect too much from others. We expect people to understand our feelings without explanation. We expect people to always respond the way we hope. We expect people to give us the same level of care that we give to them. We expect people to always remember our efforts, our sacrifices, and our intentions. But when these expectations are not fulfilled, the heart begins to feel hurt, disappointed, and sometimes even broken. The reality is that human beings are limited. Every person is carrying their own responsibilities, their own struggles, their own worries, and their own tests. Sometimes people are not able to give you the attention you expect, not because they do not care, but because they themselves are overwhelmed. Sometimes people fail to understand you, not because they want to hurt you, but because they are dealing with situations you cannot see. When expectations are too high, even small mistakes from people begin to feel very painful. The heart begins to question relationships. The mind begins to overthink simple situations. A person begins to feel unappreciated even when they are valued. Islam teaches us balance in our relationships. We are encouraged to care for people, to support people, to maintain good character, and to treat others with kindness. But at the same time, we are reminded not to attach our emotional peace completely to people, because when peace becomes dependent on people's behavior, stability becomes difficult. People change, situations change, circumstances change. If your expectations are fixed on people behaving exactly the way you want, disappointment becomes frequent. Expecting less from people does not mean you stop loving people. It means you stop depending completely on people for emotional satisfaction. It means you accept that human beings are imperfect. It means you understand that mistakes will happen. It means you allow space for people to be human. When expectations reduce, relationships often become easier. You begin to appreciate small acts of kindness instead of ignoring them. You begin to feel grateful for simple efforts instead of focusing only on what is missing. Many people lose their peace because they constantly measure how much they give and how much they receive. They keep a silent record in their hearts. They remember every time they made effort for someone. They remember every time they supported someone. And then they feel hurt when they do not receive the same response. But this way of thinking slowly creates emotional exhaustion. Because human relationships cannot always be perfectly equal. Sometimes you will give more. Sometimes others will give more. If every relationship becomes a calculation, peace becomes difficult. True peace comes when your expectations from people reduce and your expectations from Allah increase. When you do something good for someone, do it for the sake of Allah. When you help someone, expect reward from Allah. When you show kindness, trust that Allah sees your effort even if people do not notice. Allah never overlooks even the smallest good deed. Allah never ignores sincerity. Tawakkaltu ala Allah. I place my trust in Allah. When trust is placed in Allah, disappointment from people becomes lighter, because your heart knows that nothing goes unnoticed by Allah. Even if people forget your efforts, Allah remembers. Even if people fail to appreciate your kindness, Allah appreciates. Even if people misunderstand your intentions, Allah knows your sincerity. Expecting less from people also protects your emotional health. When expectations are too high, even normal human behavior begins to feel like betrayal. For example, when someone becomes busy and replies late, the heart immediately assumes negative meaning. When someone forgets something small, the mind begins to feel unimportant. When someone does not respond with the same level of excitement, the heart begins to feel ignored. But when expectations are balanced, the mind remains calm. You allow space for people's imperfections. You give benefit of the doubt. You protect your heart from unnecessary stress. Reducing expectations also allows you to experience more gratitude. When you stop expecting constant attention, every sincere moment of care feels valuable. When you stop expecting perfection, every small effort feels meaningful. Gratitude increases because the heart focuses on what is present instead of what is missing. A grateful heart naturally experiences more peace. Allah reminds us, لَإِن شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ. If you are grateful, I will increase you. Gratitude attracts peace. Complaining increases heaviness. When expectations are high, complaints become frequent. When expectations are balanced, appreciation becomes frequent. This shift in perspective changes emotional experience completely. Life begins to feel lighter. Relationships begin to feel easier. The heart begins to feel calmer. Expecting less from people also helps you avoid emotional dependence. Emotional dependence occurs when your mood is constantly controlled by how others behave. If someone praises you, you feel happy. If someone criticizes you, you feel sad. If someone gives attention, you feel confident. If someone ignores you, you feel insecure. This creates emotional instability. Your peace keeps moving up and down depending on people's reactions. But when expectations reduce, emotional balance increases. You still care about people, but your emotional state does not collapse. Every time someone behaves differently than expected, you remain calm, you remain patient, you remain understanding, you accept that people are human. Islam encourages husn al-dan, having good assumptions about others. Instead of immediately assuming negative intentions, a believer looks for positive explanations. Maybe the person is busy, maybe the person is tired, maybe the person is facing difficulty. This mindset protects the heart from unnecessary negativity. Expecting less from people also protects your dignity. When expectations are too high, a person sometimes tolerates disrespect just to maintain connection. They remain silent when boundaries are crossed. They accept behavior that hurts them emotionally. They fear losing people, so they lose their peace instead. But when expectations are balanced, you become more careful about what you accept. You do not tolerate continuous disrespect. You do not sacrifice your self-respect for temporary attention. You understand that your dignity is valuable. A peaceful heart is not created by controlling people's behavior. It is created by controlling your expectations. When expectations are realistic, disappointments reduce. When disappointments reduce, emotional stability increases. When emotional stability increases, inner peace becomes easier to maintain. When a person places their ultimate hope in Allah, they begin to feel secure. Because Allah never fails His promise. Allah never ignores sincere effort. Allah never abandons those who trust Him. People may disappoint, but Allah never disappoints. When your expectations from people reduce, you begin to interact with others with a lighter heart. You become more forgiving. You become more patient. You become more understanding. You accept imperfections. You focus on goodness. You release unnecessary emotional pressure. Peace enters the heart when expectations are balanced. Care for people but rely on Allah. Love people but depend on Allah. Appreciate people but trust Allah. And when your heart learns this balance, relationships no longer disturb your peace. Instead, they become easier to manage. Your emotional world becomes calmer because it is no longer controlled by unpredictable human behavior. This is the wisdom behind expecting less from people. It does not distance you from others. It protects your peace within relationships. It allows you to care without losing yourself. It allows you to give without feeling empty. It allows you to live with a calm heart, trusting that whatever is meant for you will reach you by the will of Allah. 5. True happiness comes from inner peace. My dear brothers and sisters, many people spend their entire lives searching for happiness in the outside world. They believe happiness will come when they achieve a certain goal, when they receive recognition, when they build perfect relationships, or when their circumstances become exactly the way they desire. They keep telling themselves that peace will come later, after everything becomes easier, after every problem disappears, after every difficulty is removed. But the reality of life is that challenges never completely disappear. Situations continue to change. Responsibilities continue to increase. Tests continue to come in different forms. If a person waits for perfect conditions to feel happy, they may spend many years feeling restless. True happiness is not created by perfect circumstances. True happiness is created by inner peace. Inner peace is a state of the heart where a person feels calm even when life is not perfect. It is the ability to remain emotionally balanced even when situations are uncertain. It is the ability to feel grateful even when everything is not exactly as planned. Inner peace is not loud, it is quiet. It is not dependent on constant excitement, it is based on stability. It is not created by the approval of people, it is created by the connection with Allah. When the heart is connected with Allah, it begins to experience a special type of calmness. This calmness does not disappear when people disappoint. This calmness does not disappear when situations change. This calmness remains because its source is stable. Allah is the source of peace. Allah is As-Salam, the giver of peace. When a person strengthens their relationship with Allah, they begin to carry peace within themselves. This peace travels with them wherever they go. Whether they are surrounded by people or sitting alone, their heart remains steady. Many people believe that being alone automatically leads to sadness, but this is not always true. Sadness comes when the heart feels empty. But when the heart is filled with remembrance of Allah, solitude becomes comforting, silence becomes peaceful. Being alone becomes an opportunity to reflect, to recharge emotionally, and to reconnect spiritually. A person who develops inner peace does not feel dependent on constant company. They appreciate people, but they are not emotionally controlled by people. Allah reminds us, Ala bi dhikrillahi tatma'innul qulub. Indeed, in the remembrance of Allah do hearts find rest. This verse contains a powerful truth. The heart was created to find peace in the remembrance of its Creator. When a person constantly looks for happiness in temporary things, the heart feels unstable because temporary things always change. People change, situations change, circumstances change. But when a person connects their heart to Allah, they connect themselves to something permanent. This creates emotional security. Inner peace also comes from acceptance. Acceptance does not mean giving up effort. Acceptance means understanding that not everything in life is within our control. A person who tries to control every situation often feels overwhelmed. They feel stressed because they want everything to happen according to their expectations. But life does not always follow our plans. Sometimes delays happen. Sometimes doors close. Sometimes outcomes are different from what we imagined. Inner peace comes when a person accepts that Allah's wisdom is greater than their own understanding. When a person trusts Allah's plan, their heart becomes lighter. They continue making effort, but they release the burden of controlling every result. They remind themselves that Allah knows what is best. They remind themselves that every situation contains wisdom, even if that wisdom is not immediately visible. This mindset protects the heart from excessive worry. Inner peace also grows when a person reduces comparison. Many people feel unhappy not because they lack blessings, but because they constantly compare their lives with others. They compare success, relationships, lifestyle, and achievements. Comparison creates pressure. Comparison creates dissatisfaction. Comparison makes a person overlook their own blessings. When a person focuses too much on what others have, they begin to forget what Allah has already given them. Gratitude strengthens inner peace. When a person appreciates what they already have, the heart feels satisfied. Gratitude shifts attention from what is missing to what is present. Instead of constantly feeling incomplete, a grateful heart feels content. Allah promises increase for those who are grateful. لَإِن شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ. If you are grateful, I will increase you. Increase does not always mean material increase. Sometimes increase comes in the form of emotional peace. Sometimes increase comes in the form of clarity. Sometimes increase comes in the form of patience. A peaceful heart is one of the greatest blessings a person can receive. True happiness also comes from emotional balance. A person with inner peace does not allow every small situation to disturb their mood. They do not react strongly to every comment. They do not feel shaken by every opinion. They do not allow every negative moment to control their day. They understand that life contains ups and downs. They remain patient during difficulty and grateful during ease. Inner peace gives a person stability. Stability gives a person strength. Strength gives a person confidence. Confidence allows a person to move through life with calmness. They do not rush decisions based on emotions. They do not panic when facing challenges. They remain composed because their peace comes from within. When a person develops inner peace, they also become more kind towards others. Because their heart is not constantly disturbed, they have more emotional space to show patience. They do not easily become irritated. They do not easily become angry. They do not easily become overwhelmed. They treat people with gentleness because their heart is calm. Inner peace also protects a person from unnecessary emotional dependence. They do not feel desperate for constant reassurance. They do not feel insecure when they are alone. They do not feel incomplete without constant attention. They understand that their worth is not created by people's opinions. Their worth is given by Allah. Allah created every person with value. That value does not increase when people praise you. That value does not decrease when people ignore you. Your value comes from being a creation of Allah. When a person understands this deeply, they stop chasing validation. They stop seeking constant approval. They focus on improving themselves for the sake of Allah. When your intention becomes sincere, your heart becomes peaceful, because you are no longer trying to please everyone. You are trying to please Allah. Pleasing people all the time is impossible. No matter what you do, some people will misunderstand, some people will disagree, some people will criticize. But when your intention is to please Allah, you gain clarity. You know why you are doing what you are doing. Inner peace allows a person to enjoy simple moments, a quiet walk, a calm evening, a moment of reflection, a sincere dua. These simple moments begin to feel meaningful. A person no longer needs constant excitement to feel happy. They begin to appreciate calmness. They begin to value stillness. They begin to understand that happiness is not always loud. Happiness is often quiet. Happiness is a peaceful heart. Happiness is trusting Allah even when the path is unclear. Happiness is feeling content even when life is not perfect. Happiness is knowing that Allah is always near. Inna Allaha ma'as sabirin. Indeed, Allah is with those who are patient. Patience strengthens inner peace. Patience allows a person to remain stable during tests. Patience reminds the heart that difficulty is temporary. Patience helps a person trust that ease will come at the right time. True happiness does not come from controlling every situation. It comes from controlling your response to situations. It comes from choosing patience instead of panic. It comes from choosing trust instead of fear. It comes from choosing gratitude instead of complaint. When a person builds inner peace, they carry happiness within themselves. Their happiness is not easily shaken. Their happiness is not easily taken away. Their happiness is not dependent on constant external conditions. They become emotionally strong. They become spiritually calm. They become mentally clear. And this is the beauty of inner peace. It allows you to live in this world without losing yourself in this world. It allows you to care for people without depending completely on people. It allows you to experience happiness even when you are alone, because the heart that is connected with Allah is never truly empty. The heart that trusts Allah is never truly lost. The heart that remembers Allah is never without peace. This is true happiness. Happiness that begins from within. Happiness that remains even in silence. Happiness that no one can take away. My dear brothers and sisters, remember, being alone is not a sign that something is missing in your life. Sometimes being alone is a sign that Allah is teaching your heart to become stronger, calmer, and more independent. When you stop depending on people for every moment of happiness, you begin to discover a deeper peace that cannot be easily shaken. You begin to understand that true contentment is not found in constant attention, but in a heart that trusts Allah completely. When your happiness comes from within, people's behavior no longer controls your emotions. When your peace is connected to Allah, situations no longer disturb your stability. You begin to live with a quiet confidence, knowing that what is meant for you will reach you, and what is not meant for you will never harm you. Sometimes Allah removes noise from your life so you can hear your own thoughts more clearly. Sometimes Allah creates distance from people so your heart can come closer to Him. Sometimes solitude is not emptiness, it is preparation for emotional strength, wisdom, and clarity. Always remember, the heart that relies on Allah never feels completely alone. Hasbi Allahu wa ni'mal wakeel. Allah is sufficient for us, and He is the best disposer of affairs. May Allah fill your heart with peace that does not depend on people. May Allah grant you happiness that remains even in silence. May Allah make your solitude a source of strength, clarity, and closeness to Him. If this reminder touched your heart, share it with someone who may also need peace in their life. And remember, when Allah becomes enough for your heart, you will discover that you were never truly alone.